Hi, I'm Bill Wild of Assured Research. Thanks so much for joining this quick hit video where we focus on one research note drawn from our August 2025 Assured briefing in this case. This note is about commercial auto liability insurance. Now, commercial auto insurance has been a source of frustration for many insurance professionals for going on probably a bit over a decade now. In our research note, we will have a summary of what transpired as pertains to commercial auto in the second quarter of 2025. We're recording this just on the cusp of the second quarter earnings release of some of the larger commercial auto writers. So won't share that with you here, but it's our hope that for anybody who's not a subscriber, if this interests you, you poke around both our website, the YouTube site, we'd be more than happy to share the August briefing with you as part of a trial to our work. But what this does have, and allow me to share the screen, is a really interesting analysis looking at the intersection of, here we go, and that's the step I sometimes forget. Good. Really interesting analysis looking at the intersection of the economy and commercial, in this case, commercial auto insurance. And for that, we can thank the rich data set that comes with Verisk's MarketStance business unit. We enjoy a collaborative relationship with them. And there's really, after this screen, a very interesting insight to which we can give them full credit. But let's get into that second. This first. What you're looking at is the commercial auto premium purchased by industry at the two-digit NAICS level, largest on the left down to smallest on the right. The bubbles are meant to be scaled to premium size. And as the title says, it's really all about the construction and transportation and warehousing industry. Construction purchases $19.1 billion in premiums, transportation and warehouse $16.5 billion in premiums. And when we say it's really all about those two industries, biggest by size, but look at the divergence in their 2025 estimated loss ratio. Mid to upperish 70s for construction broadly, and below the one standard deviation average. Those two dashed lines, nearer the high 50s for transportation and warehouse. That sector of the economy. And it's interesting, I think, to observe the really tight band, the tight loss ratio band of all the other industries. We've drawn the plus or minus one standard deviation line. Probably could have put that at half a standard deviation and really captured most of those industries. So the variability one might draw from this work really is attributed to construction and transportation and warehousing, the two biggest sectors, and with a focus on what's causing the poor results, or what could be causing the poor results in this piece going forward. We're going to focus on construction. Before explaining this next slide, allow me to just share what's meant by the liability burden. Readers, subscribers, and regular readers will probably be familiar with it. But when I use the term liability burden, we're looking at in the numerator liability losses. In this case, liability, commercial auto liability, since we're focused on commercial auto. In other work, we take a step back and look at across many coverages. But here it's in the numerator, the liability losses, calendar year losses, by state and over time, and in the denominator, each state's corresponding GDP, each state and over time. And so you get this kind of intuitive relationship that varies by state, but allows you to say, hey, how much in a particular state, how much of the state's GDP at any particular point in time is kind of being chewed up by the civil negligence system. So in this, now with that definition behind us, what you're looking at on the left-hand side is we wanted to just say, hey, is there a relationship, as one would think that there would be, between liability burdens by state, the x-axis, and the construction of auto loss ratio. So the liability burden, again, is looking at just commercial auto losses. So it's the kind of commercial auto liability burden. And is there a relationship between that and the loss ratio? And intuitively, the answer is yes, there is. Now, before thinking, gee, that really proves the obvious, I just point out that there are plenty of instances. I mean, this isn't a perfect fit. So there are plenty of states where presumably there is a high liability burden, but the loss ratio isn't necessarily terrible because there's also a high amount of premium, and it's just kind of it's baked into, it's socialized, it's baked into the economy in particular states. But of course, there are flare-ups, and that drives loss ratios higher. Hence, you get the intuitive relationship. A bit weaker on the right-hand side, but still intuitive. Areas where the liability burden is growing rapidly, one would think would be associated with higher loss ratios, right? Just the actuarial process tends to be backward looking. And so if losses race ahead because of changes in social factors or litigation rates, it can take a little bit of time, a couple of years perhaps, to catch up to that. So here we have something that's on the one hand intuitive, but also interesting, and something that we suggest companies can look at this liability burden, its level, how it's changing over time, and that can be factored into their analysis of states, and the desirability to grow, for instance, or not grow in a particular state based on what they're seeing from the perspective of the liability burden, its level, and how it's changing. Here's the slide with the really interesting insight. And again, thanks very solely to the MarketStance for pointing this out to us 2 years ago. We ran it in a briefing in 2023. Here we're updating it. They observed not only is the construction auto loss ratio noticeably higher than all the other industries, that was the previous or 2 slides ago, but that's not uniform across the country. There are real regional differences, and you see that here. Look at the 2025 estimated construction loss ratio, auto loss ratio by state. We've circled in red the Midwest and the Southeast, where it's meaningfully higher than in many of those states, most of those states, higher than the national average. And then in green, look at the Pacific Northwest and some of the northern states. Look over in New England, much lower. So really very interesting. And we think that this affords a great opportunity for folks who'd be interested to check these results against your own book of business. If you look at it, do you find that your construction loss ratios are meaningfully higher than transportation and warehousing policyholders, that fit into those industries? Are you seeing a pattern of loss ratios across the country if you're a national writer, that broadly mirrors this, or is it different? So a lot of ways in which you can drill down on your own, or with the help of data from MarketStance for interest, for instance, because you can go much lower than just the 2-digit NAICS level or the state level analysis that we have here. You can drill down quite a bit further. Leave that for another day. Right now, I'll just say thank you. I hope you found that interesting. And if you did, again, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to start you on a trial to our work if you're so inclined. Have a great rest of your day.